Good evening and welcome to Political Forum, Wednesday, July 24th, 2015. We are welcoming our guest today, Alderman Gilbert Villegas. He's appearing today at our Political Forum show. Thank you for appearing on our show this evening. My name is Freddie Calixto. I'm a board member here at CAN TV, and this is a service that's done as a live interactive show to get questions from the alderman, and the number to call is 312-738-1060. So if you have a question for the alderman and would like to call, please do so. We'll welcome your questions. So let's get started, Alderman. Congratulations, first of all, for being newly elected, one of 13 newly elected aldermen to this city council in 2015.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to come out here and address the residents of the 36th Ward.
Well, thank you. Again, can you tell us a little bit about yourself a little bit, because you're new to the, as an alderman, but about the 36th Ward, which is also new.
Right. So every 10 years they do redistricting, and so as a result of the redistricting, the 36th Ward map was drawn. And so if you take a look at the map, it covers about 5 communities. You have the Belmont-Cragen community, Hermosa Park community, Montclair community, Galewood, as well as parts of Portage Park. And a little bit about myself. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, small business owner, and I've was with the Teamsters for 10 years. After being honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, with the Teamsters I represented drivers and dock workers, making sure that their rights were being adhered to. And after doing a decade with the Teamsters, I was fortunate enough to get hired by and recruited by the Illinois Department of Transportation, where I served as a deputy director in charge of $1.5 billion in road construction projects. And my main focus there was to make sure that minority and women-owned companies were participating on these publicly funded contracts. And I did that for about 5 years before being recruited to the Hispanic American Construction Industry Association, a not-for-profit trade association, where I advocated and lobbied down in Springfield and Cook County in the city of Chicago, again for minority and women-owned rights for companies that were looking to participate on publicly funded contracts. And then I was appointed to the Chief of Staff position with the Capital Development Board, which is a state agency that does all the vertical construction. And again, there I was able to implement policies and change some rules that made it more friendly for minority and women-owned businesses to participate. And then I started a company. Seems like I can't keep a job, but the reality is that I just kept progressing in my profession. And so I have a consulting company that helped small and medium-sized businesses penetrate the public and private sectors. And then while as a business owner, an opportunity came up where this map had been drawn, and I had been working closely with the former alderman Nick Sposato, and him and I were talking about representation and in the city. And so he asked me to consider running for the position, and so I did after I saw some of the candidates that were that had went ahead and declared their candidacy. I decided that I had a little bit more experience than them, and figured I'd get it off my bucket list.
Good. Well, we're all glad you did, and congratulations for the big win in April. So what plans do you have for the ward, again, as the new 36th Ward?
Well, again, it's a newly drawn map, and it's made from the 31st Ward, the 37th Ward, 29th Ward, parts of the old 36th, and then parts of the 38th Ward. And so the way that the map is drawn, it's like, I look at it like a horseshoe. And so the southern portion of the ward has some issues where the aldermen that were there before didn't quite address. And so that'll be where I'm focusing a little bit more of my resources.
This is down here?
Yeah.
This is Costner?
Costner and Grand, and that would be the 31st Ward. And then you move west, and you're coming up to 37th, then to the 29th Ward, and then where it has the number 36, that's actually the old 36, and then the northern portion of the ward, where Warwick, Cornelia, that would be the old 38th Ward, and so that's the Portage Park area, and so there's some issues that differ from the north end of the ward to the south end of the ward, and so I'll be looking to address those issues initially in the south end and work my way around the horseshoe.
Yep. Look Looks like you got your hands full with that. All those combined wards into one. But can you have your new ward office now, so you can talk about that, and I'm going to put the overhead with that information up.
Okay, correct. So I'm proud to say that our office was open on May 18th, which was the first day we got inaugurated. It was open for a half a day, and it's been open since. Our office is located at 6934 West Diversey Avenue, and our phone number is 773-745-4636. And our office hours are Monday through Friday. Monday is from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Friday is 9 to 5. And then the first and third Saturdays of the month, we're open from 9 a.m. to noon. And during the during the summer months, on Monday nights, we'll be hosting a barbecue for our residents. Since we're going to be there for ward night, you'll see me on the grill cooking some hot dogs and some hamburgers for our residents.
So what's the ward night?
Monday nights from 5 to 7:30.
Awesome. I'm stopping by for a hot dog.
You got it.
We have a caller on the line. What's your question?
Hi, as a new alderman, are you planning on introducing any kind of reforms so far as how you run your ward? I know a lot of people are turning to participatory budgeting and stuff like that to try and engage people. Is there anything like that that you think you're going to introduce?
Absolutely. And so I campaigned on participatory budgeting as part of my platform. I think that participatory budgeting is a great way to engage the community and make sure that they have an opportunity to participate on the decisions that will ultimately be made with the infrastructure project. So I am definitely going to be implementing participatory budgeting in 2016 because of the fact that we got sworn in May 18th, and so the menus are due now, and so there just wasn't enough time to put forth a participatory budgeting campaign in order to really roll out participatory budgeting. So 2016 moving forward, we will be having participatory budgeting in the 36th ward.
Caller, thank you so much for your question. We have another caller on the line. Caller, what is your question?
Sí, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Lo quería felicitar mucho por por ganar, y mi pregunta es, veo que la violencia es la prioridad en su área. ¿Qué es lo que está haciendo para prevenirla este verano?
Okay, gracias. Yo estoy trabajando con los policías en el distrito 25. So we're working closely with the 25th District Police Department in making sure that our office is acting as the conduit between the police department and the community groups. And so we'll be utilizing my office to make sure that we're working closely with the commanders as well as the police officers to ensure that the violence stops.
Caller, thank you for that question. That leads me to, could you want to talk about your march that relates to that question?
Right, and so we just recently did a peace march at the Northwest Middle School, and we strategically went around an area where there was a fatality during the April-May month this year, where there was a young man who was a known gang member that was shot and killed. And so our community is not going to stand for that type of violence. And so along with all the grammar schools and some faith-based organizations, we decided to demonstrate that our community wants to make sure that we're safe. And so we did a march from Northwest Middle School around the area, around by Prosser High School, and came back to that facility. And then again, we said a prayer and make sure that we want to let the community know that we're all in this together. We're partnering to make sure that our communities are safe.
Great. Thank you. Gracias por la llamada. We have another caller on the line. Caller, what is your question?
Yeah, good evening to y'all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Bruce Ryder cut some of the aldermen of the 36th Ward, some of his programs out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, what if he cut some of his programs out, and how would he feel? And then why would he get more jobs in his neighborhood? What if Bruce Ryder cut some of his jobs out?
Okay. You got the question?
Yeah. So, and that's an issue right now. That's an issue that's being dealt with in Springfield. I personally, the city council members don't have any types of votes that affect the governor's budget. But I can tell you that I'm working closely with our state elected officials to let them know that the budget that was proposed, if there's not new revenue found in order to balance the budget, that will definitely impact our community. And so I'm definitely working closely with our state elected officials, and we want to make sure that the governor understands that those types of cuts will definitely impact our community.
Caller, thank you very much for that question. We have another caller on the line. What is your question?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question concerning actually CPS. I know that they're facing a crisis possibly right now or in the future, and that along with the lines of the city itself having a budget crisis. So my question to the Alderman is like, do you have anything that you're thinking about that you could bring forward to City Council in terms of solutions? And because I guess what a lot of people are worried about is that it's just going to mean they're going to be paying more one way or another about taxes and things like that.
Right. Well, as it relates to CPS, I know that CPS it's a standalone organization where the mayor has appointed the board, and we really don't have a say as to how the expenditures or the appropriation of that agency is handled. But I can tell you that the city of Chicago, CPS, the state of Illinois, are having some real financial issues, and it's been a result of really not addressing the issues, but really just kicking the can down the road. And now here we are in a situation where we're going to have to make some tough decisions as to whether or not we're going to seek new revenue, make some additional cuts, become more efficient. But those are discussions that are ongoing, and I'm looking forward to actually hosting a town hall meeting in the 36th Ward to engage the residents of the 36th Ward to bring forth some ideas that they may have to either create new revenue, take a look at creating ideas that will make government more efficient, take a look at ideas, again, where not just myself making these decisions. I like to surround myself with smart people, and the 36th Ward has tons of smart people in that ward, and I want to make sure that I'm engaging them and asking for their input so that way I could bring forth some ideas that the community has a say in, and maybe some other elected officials and the mayor have not thought of yet.
Hey, caller, thank you for that question. Let me remind you that this is a interactive show. If you have a question for the Alderman, please call us at 312-738-1060. We talked about a lot of things already. What about the education? I think you had some event that you were in your ward, a summit at one of the schools.
Right, and so I have 3 high schools in the ward, and there's a North Grand High School, Steinmetz College Prep, and Prosser Vocational School. And so my plans to deal with the high schools is to take a look at Steinmetz College Prep and really make it a college prep and team it up with some universities and some colleges so that way we can do dual credit programs. So that way when the senior graduates, they'll be a little bit further ahead. With my Prosser Vocational School, that's something that I'm really working closely with some of the building trades to develop some curriculum that will be put forth at Prosser Vocational School as the aging workforce in the unions, as well as the diversity issues within the unions. I think that Prosser Vocational School would serve as a good facility to help, again, with the aging workforce and diversifying the workforce in the unions. Then with my grammar schools, I'm fortunate to have about 4 or 5 of the 5 schools that are level 1, and that's something that I want to make sure that those are feeder schools to our high schools, and I want to make sure that they're getting the resources necessary. And teaming up with some of the not-for-profits in the area, Northwest Side Housing, just recently we teamed up, and we held a summit, which is a Quality of Life Summit at Steinmetz College Prep, and we had about 150 participants from the community, and they actually put forth some ideas that are actually their ideas that we're going to implement over a period of time. Was the initial meeting, and I look forward to having these additional meetings, more meetings rather, to really put forth the plan.
Great, thank you. We have other issues that we can talk about while we wait for other callers. Let's see what we have here. You mentioned that you were part of the state of Illinois, working on issues to help the minority businesses. What can you bring to the 36th Ward in that capacity?
Right. Well, as it relates to making sure that everyone's participating on these projects, anytime a developer comes to the ward, and if there's a contracting opportunity, I want to make sure that they're understanding that I want to make sure the community is involved in these projects, and talk to them and make the initial introduction, because a lot of times in business it's about relationships, and so you'll see some of the contractors that are really good at their craft but just may have a hard time with business development. And so if I can act as that conduit between the small business and the developer, and giving them an opportunity and keeping the jobs local, that's something that I want to do.
Great. Well, thank you. We have a caller on the line. Caller, what is your question?
Hello, I'm a new resident of the 36th Ward. I've recently moved from the Lakeview area to the 36th Ward, and I noticed that there's a new Starbucks going up at the Brickyard. I was wondering what your plan was for economic development.
Absolutely. So economic development is, I ran on an acronym called PEACE. It made it easier for me to remember all my talking points, but it's public safety, education, accountability, city services, and economic development. And economic development is something that I want to really stress. Again, as I'm marketing the ward to potential developers or potential companies that are looking to want to move into the city of Chicago, I've been working closely with World Business Chicago and the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce to try to identify companies that are looking to relocate to areas of the city that are a lot more cost effective for them. So at the Brickyard, it's an anchor. It generates tons of dollars, and it's in a TIF. And so I want to make sure that we're generating as much tax dollars as possible so that we can encourage economic development and put people to work in the 36th Ward.
Great. Thank you for that question, caller. What other issues? We talked about the Peace March. You had an open house. We talked about that. What other events do you have planned, or did you just recently have that you want to talk about and share with us?
Yeah, so we just recently had our city sticker event on Monday. A great success. We had over 100 seniors come out and take advantage of that. And those are the types of services that I want to continue. I plan on moving my ward office around the ward to different precincts to kind of localize the issues that may be facing that precinct in that area. Again, there's 30 precincts in the ward, shaped like a horseshoe, and so again, issues will differ from one side of the ward to the other. And so I want to be able to have a ward night within the ward on different precincts, and then really address those issues there. So that'll be starting probably in August. But right now we're about to start the budget season, and so one of the things that I want to do right away is have a town hall meeting to really engage the voters of the 36th Ward and ask them to help me put forth some ideas related to the budget, how they would fix this budget. This is something that's not going to be fixed immediately. This has been decades in the making, but I think that as a ward, as a city, if we begin to take a look at what are some of the issues and how we're going to pay for these issues, and really demonstrate the return on investment for the taxpayers, I think that we keep that dialogue open. I think it'll be a smooth transition.
Okay, thank you. Talking about what you were running on your campaign, can you talk about the service that you were delivering while you were campaigning?
Well, as I mentioned, the ward with the redistricting that occurred, some of the aldermen really weren't servicing those areas that they knew they were going to vacate, and so there was a void there. And as a candidate, obviously I have limited resources, but I did have some resources, and so I took it upon myself to really have our campaign office, act as a ward office. And so we were assisting residents in the 36th Ward before we were even elected, in trying to help deliver city services, addressing some of the issues, trying to leverage some of the relationships that we had as a campaign to really try to focus and help the residents that they seemed helpless. And so it just really compelling, and I just wanted to make sure that first of all, as a resident of the city, that we were helping them, and then as a candidate, just making sure that we deliver the city services.
What kind of services, like shoveling or?
Well, we made sure that they had their basic city services is related to garbage pickup, recycling. But then what we did also was there was a couple of storms that took place, and I went ahead and purchased the snowblower, and we put out an email, and we made some phone calls to some of the seniors and asked them if they needed some assistance getting out. And so we have a good mix of constituents in the 36th ward, and so we have some seniors in there, and so we wanted to make sure that the seniors had an opportunity to either get to their doctor's appointments, and so we contacted them, and we ended up shoveling and snow blowing some of the seniors' homes.
Very nice. What other events? I think I was reading something about a flea market.
Right. We just recently had a flea market. I sit on the Bell Park Advisory Council, and the president of that Bell Park Advisory Council did a great job in organizing. The whole advisory council did a great job in organizing this event. And initially, the tables we were hoping to sell 20, and it turned out we sold 80, and we had a waiting list, and over 300 people came to Bell Park, and really we put a focus on that park because we want to make sure we just got a new playground, and we want to make sure that again this is enforcing the fact that we want the constituents to use these parks and feel safe in these areas. And so when we did this flea market, it was a great success, and I'm pretty sure that we're gonna do it again at Bell Park. But since it was a success at Bell Park, I'm going to be talking to some of the other advisory councils and asking them if they'd be interested in organizing a flea market because they were able to generate some dollars for their fundraising as well.
Awesome. We have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your question?
Hi.
Hello.
Diversity Avenue is a snow route after 2 inches of snow, which hasn't been followed in the past several years. I was wondering if the aldermen will have that enforced.
Right, so Diversity Avenue is, you are correct, in certain portions there is identified. We will definitely take a look at making sure that those areas where the signage is there, that we'll go ahead and enforce that. So yes, that's definitely make sure that we're working with our police department and our ward superintendent to make sure that those routes are clear for snow.
Thank you for that question, caller. We have another call on the line. Caller, what is your question?
Hi, thanks for taking my question.
You're welcome.
Alderman, do you know if there's going to be any more divvy bikes introduced into the ward?
Well, yes. So I don't know that for a fact, but I am going to be talking to the planning department to find out, as well as CDOT, to find out what their plans are for having divvy bikes in the 36th ward. Grand Avenue does have a bike route area, and so we want to probably locate it around there. But I'll be working closely with CDOT to kind of find out, let them, since they're the professionals with moving traffic and moving people, I'll work with them closely to bring divvy to the 36th ward.
Thank you. Caller, thank you for that question. Alderman, thank you for being our guest. We're about running out of time. Is there anything else that you want to share about the 36th ward before we're out of time?
Well, I would just say that the 36th ward is located on the northwest side of the city. We're real close to the airport and close to a couple of the major highways, and so we want to make sure that businesses and those light manufacturing companies understand that we're open for business. I'm looking forward to bringing economic development jobs to the 36th ward.
Well, again, thank you for being on our show. The audience, thank you for participating. We look forward to seeing you at our next show. We have Alderman Sue Sondowski Garza from the 10th Ward with us. Sylvia, thank you for manning the phones, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.